But thank you. We had our first member meetup on Wednesday, and we had about 8 people come. It was a great conversation, and I think that next month. So if you go onto our website, onto the events page, you will see the monthly member meetups, the dates that they're there. They are free to attend. Come along, buy yourself a coffee and just enjoy the conversation. We have quite a few recruiters come who talk about what's happening in their space. So it's always a really good environment to come to and have a good conversation and just meet some other Women for STEM members. All right, I think we've got everybody. How are you going there, Victoria? Are you able to share?
Yes, I can. Share screen and that one. Can
So
everybody see?
hopefully,
Share.
and that has come up. Thank you so much. Can everyone
Woohoo.
see that? All right, so today's session, unlike the session that we last had, the last session was really about you writing a post and seeing what happens with writing a post, and to sort of take away some of the fear and stigma about writing a post and how you manage those posts and the best way to get engagement. This session is really looking at how you increase your network and how you get the most out of LinkedIn as a social media platform. LinkedIn is an amazing platform to help you get noticed. And if you build your brand in such a ways that you are interesting to recruiters, to prospective employers, then that's the best way to use LinkedIn and to use it to your advantage. Can I ask everyone, please, to have, if you haven't got it available to you, a pen and some paper, because I'm going to get you to do a little bit of thinking. So I do know that it is 6 o'clock at night. No one wants to think, and you've all had a long day, but let's do a little bit of thinking as part of this webinar, because it's going to help you in the long run. So I'm going to move on to the next slide, if you wouldn't mind, Victoria. Excellent. So what we're going to cover in this session is building your brand, building your network, the difference between a follower and a connection, and then women network differently. And then for you at the end, I will, as I've done with the other, I will challenge you to have a bit of a go. And that will be during the course of the next couple of weeks. So let's move to the next slide and talk about your brand. So in our first boot camp, we did talk about personal brand and what that is and how to know what it is. But I wanted to cover this again. I really wanted to just revisit this idea because in the original boot camp, and none of you were at, or one of you might have been there, we talked about really starting to tease out what you think your personal brand could be. Now, I'm going to, at some point during the course of this webinar, I'm going to bring up my own LinkedIn profile so that I can talk to you around what my profile looks like and how I've built my brand. But I'm also going to ask you to start really thinking about what your own personal brand could be. So whether that is, whether you're a change leader, an innovation leader, a practitioner in some way, this is about, your brand is more than just a name or a title. It is about aspects of your professional career and how you get to be clear on that. And on LinkedIn, it is absolutely vital to understand your brand because people will get to know you for that brand. It's like, I was speaking with a gentleman around public speaking, and I do a lot of that, as you would know from my LinkedIn profile as it is. I do a lot of public speaking, and he said to me, is that how you're going to have your hair? Because you can't change your hair now. Your hair is that color, it's short, that's how your hair needs to be, because that's going to become part of your brand and who you are. And I thought, wow, isn't that interesting? Because I used to like changing my hair color quite regularly when I was much younger, but I don't do that now. And yes, my hair, the glasses that I wear, the clothes that I wear, all become part of that, of your brand. Now, in LinkedIn, in the LinkedIn world, it is the things that you post about, the values your personal values, those sorts of things. They all become part of who you are in this virtual world. So the next slide, if you wouldn't mind, Victoria. So who am I? This is a question for you. I need you all to start to think about who you are, who you want to be seen as on LinkedIn. Now, I can't answer this question for you, but some of the questions that I want you to ask yourself is, and I used to start this off with a so who do you want to be when you grow up? I don't ask that question anymore. I don't ask that question of myself because I figure, well, maybe I'm grown up enough or maybe I'm not. But I I want to ask, and the question that I ask is, how do I want to add value? So I would like you now to take a few moments and I want you to write down or list 5 ways you feel you add value. Now, I do not want you to just go, well, what, just in the workplace? No, I want you to think about, how do you add value in the workplace or in your personal life or in your hobbies? And I want you to take a few moments and I'd like you to write those down. I wish we had some music, Victoria.
Well, I could hum, but no, I'm not very musically minded.
Oh, we could put some Jeopardy music on, you know, that
Yeah.
30-second music
Oh,
with
yeah.
Jeopardy.
Yeah, we could. We could.
So I really want you to dig down deep. Now, when I was doing this particular thing, I was thinking about that value that I bring. And I mean, I love a good process. So for me, being process oriented and being delivery oriented, that's part of my value proposition, something that I add value to. That could be something that you love. I love I love change and transformation, anything in that space. I really enjoy working with people when they're working through transitions, whether that is a work-related transition transformation or whether that is in a personal space. So for me, that was a way that I would add value. So hopefully you've been able to think of a few things. If you can't think of 5 things now, that's okay. But try and give it some thought. Hopefully you were able to come up with 5. Okay, so the next question that I ask myself and I'm asking you is, so what are you passionate about? And I'd like you to write down a couple of those things and really think about it. I like to think about those things that bring me joy, because the things that bring me joy, I'm most passionate about. Um, you know, it could be a chocolate souffle, but I'm not really sure that we would put that down here. But hey, it could be. I love baking. I'm absolutely passionate about baking. I am not very good at it, but I love it. I love doing it. I love the idea of that. I love what joy it brings me to just stand in my kitchen and just bake, and the smells that it brings. I'm really passionate about that. I'm also really passionate about scuba diving, something that I absolutely love. But the thing that I really love about scuba diving is the connection I make with the people that I scuba dive with. The one thing I love about baking is the connection that I make when I share something that I've made with the people that I've connected with and the people that I love. And so really start to dig down deep of what that could be, because if you can link that passion to your value proposition. So for me, it's about connection, and I can link that back to transformation because it's all about connection and helping people work through something and sharing. I want you to start to think about linking your passion to your value proposition. So that's the next thing I'd like you to do. Start to think about, how could I link the value add to what I'm passionate about. And I'm going to give you a little bit of an idea. This is just a bit of how you might link that. I personally, I love processes. I love making things run smoothly in my office, around my home. Absolutely. My very first job in fast food taught me the love of a good process and how you can streamline things. I also like to volunteer for associations because I believe that strong processes within an association can make it perform so much better. So when I see a good process working to make things run smoothly, I feel delighted. And more so, it's that I've had something to do with it. So I've been able to take my passion for volunteering and my passion for processes and link those together to add value to the not-for-profit sector or to associations that I work within. And then conversely, I'm able to do the same with the jobs that I do. So therefore, my brand is around defining areas of improvement. So if I want to be known as the practical process guru, then I've been able to link those things together. Hopefully that makes sense. And can I have a thumbs up when we've done that? And then, is somebody willing to share? And nobody's willing to share, I bet you anything. But I think that this is a safe space. So there is no wrong answer. There is just your answer. So is anyone, thank you, Chris, you've done your bit. Well done. Are you willing to share, Chris? Excellent. Take yourself off mute. And what I'd love for you to share is that value piece, what you're passionate about and how you've merged those together, because that starts to become your brand, who you are.
So I value about what I love is seeing others grow and being the connector that allows that to happen. And so for me, the passion is about defining areas that where equity and inclusion can add value to an organization, because that brings everyone the money, but also to the individual.
Excellent. So from a branding perspective, there's key elements in there. There's the DEI piece, but there is that bringing power to the entire organization, isn't it? And I think that that is absolutely really important, because you can really start to push that out and then start thinking about, and then because you know that this is something they're really truly passionate about, it adds value. Because when we bring diversity to the table, then everybody wins. Then you can actually start to frame all of the things that you do on LinkedIn to match with that value proposition and your passion. Yep. Does everyone understand what Chris has just done and what I've just talked about? Does that make sense? Parveen, anyone else? Or are you also, it makes sense? Great. Because that one thing that Chris has talked about is probably the most important thing. And Chris, you're really known for that. But when you were first starting out, and for those of you that don't have a clearly defined brand, you might want to play around with it. You might have a few ideas. So it really is a case of sort of trying and seeing what sticks and what feels most resonant for you. So with Chris, most of the posts that you do up on LinkedIn, I know, are around this equity, inclusion, this balance, this harmony. It's all around that. So what we do is we take this idea of our brand, and then those things that we talk about, we start to talk about those things that are important to us because it's our value add and we're passionate about it. And therefore, when we post things on LinkedIn, it really comes from a place of authenticity. LinkedIn is not a social media platform like Instagram or Facebook, which is looking for the perfect photo, the perfect opportunity, the perfect thing. it really is looking for authenticity, and it is a professional platform. So when you're thinking about this, think of how will this help me grow my professional network? People knowing my value and how and what I'm passionate about and how I can translate that into the value I bring in the workplace is going to get you noticed. And this is the sort of platform that you want to be noticed for. And you want to be noticed for those things you're passionate about and what you add value to.
So, Mary Beth, can I just add that you almost get that sense of what somebody's value and passion is when they talk. And I know we're in a safe space. So Amber's on the phone, online as well. And I, you know, when Amber from our organization talks, the excitement about trying to get people corralled into what we're doing and why we're doing it, and it just, you know, I get all excited and think, oh my goodness, I better look at that post. And you can almost see the personality come out. Sorry.
And you're absolutely right. The thing here is some people get really afraid of posting and doing things, but the thing here is if you truly understand how you add value, what you're passionate about, when you write a post, oh my goodness, it doesn't have to be perfect. But if you're coming from a place of passion and value add, it is perfect for the audience you reach. And that's the thing that I want people to understand. So start building out your brand, because this is what people are going to want to look at. Now, we've just done this little exercise and it's fantastic. And most of you are sitting there going, okay, well, I know how to add value. And I know what I'm passionate about. And I think I can link that. So how do I build my brand? I've got a brand. And for all intents and purposes, for what we're talking about, we're going to talk about the Practical Process Guru. That is the brand that we'll talk about. So if I am the Practical Process Guru, and that's the brand that I want to be known as, that's how I add value and what I'm really passionate about, what are some of the things that I can do that will help me build out my brand on LinkedIn? So let's go to the next slide. All right. So one of the things that I talk to people about, certainly when I'm mentoring and coaching them, is you now know what your brand is. You know your brand statement. You know those things that you're passionate about, and you know you want to write those things down. So develop a posting calendar. So what does that mean, Mary Beth? What's a posting calendar? But it is basically a calendar where you will put down into that calendar when you're going to post on LinkedIn. Now, as I said before, LinkedIn's algorithm changes quite regularly. Amber, I believe that the best times to post for like the personal posting and not business related posting is still Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. That'd be about right.
It's actually changed again. It's now Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Wow.
Monday and Friday. Monday and Friday are no longer popular, and it's between the hours of either 9 and 10 or 12 to 1.
Wow.
So that changed within 2 weeks. So it is changing
and it
all
could change
the time.
again.
So as part of your posting calendar, you might want to put some A/B testing down. So that an A/B test means, well, I'm going to do this post at this time on this day, and then another post at this time on this day, and see which one does better. The thing with a posting calendar is that it will help to build your brand, but it also will help you be consistent. The thing that LinkedIn loves the most and the algorithm loves the most is consistency, absolute consistency. So if you look at and I will go to my profile shortly. But if you look at my profile and when I post Tuesday mornings between 7 and 8 a.m. and Wednesday mornings between 7 and 8 a.m. every single week. Sometimes I'll drop in a Friday post just for, you know, a little, you know, something quirky. Could be a Star Trek thing. Not a lot of those, but a few things. But it is about consistency. So when you post, you need to post things that are in alignment and are congruent with your brand. And so remember that if you are the practical process guru, you want to post about that idea. Stay on brand. Now, you can be a little bit left of center, but as long as it links back to your brand in some way. So with your posting calendar, you will develop that. Now, LinkedIn likes it if you post at least once every 3 weeks. So if you struggle with posts, then you might only want to do one every 3 weeks. But as you start building your brand and getting more traction, you may want to post more. But keep that calendar, keep it available to you. And sometimes it's good to write a few posts in advance so that you don't feel the pressure on the day. So you need to write your posts, as I said, in alignment with your calendar. So if you put in your calendar, I'm going to post on Wednesday at 10 a.m. and I'm going to do a post every Wednesday, and it's going to be a post that aligns with my brand, then write the posts and do that. Stay consistent. It is all about consistency. Now, the great thing with LinkedIn now is you can schedule your posts. So you could write 3 or 4 posts on the weekend, and then you can schedule the post to go up every Wednesday at 10 a.m. so that you could write 4 posts. If your calendar says I'm going to do 4 posts over 4 weeks, you can write those and schedule them so it takes some of the pressure off. But what I'd suggest to you is do this. Mix things up a little bit. So LinkedIn loves the use of a selfie photo. Put the selfie photo, do it in portrait, because it takes up more real estate on the screen. And the reason I say that is when it comes up onto somebody's feed on LinkedIn, it'll be your entire post with that portrait selfie that you've taken. And LinkedIn loves a selfie, and it doesn't matter if you look rubbish. If you look at the post I did, one of the posts I did this week, I look dreadful, but you know what? Doesn't matter because it's real. It's authentic. It's me. It's how I felt. It was cold that day. I was on the bus and something really interested me. So I did that and I put that post up. LinkedIn loves that. And the LinkedIn community love it because LinkedIn is not Instagram. You do not have to be picture perfect on LinkedIn. In fact, being your authentic self is more important to LinkedIn and more important to the LinkedIn community, because it also, if you are who you are, your authentic self, and you are linked to your brand and your passion, that is what the community loves to see. You can link to articles. So if you see an article, and just remember, we are the practical process guru. If I see an article on the Harvard Business Review or on Forbes, and it's around, you know, how to make the most of a good process, I might link to that. And then what I might put into that post is the things that I learnt from that post, so that you can then link your brand to what somebody else has written. You're not taking credit for what they've written, you're acknowledging them and you're putting the link to that post, to that article, but you're also talking about things that you've learned and how it's helped you to understand how important it is to be the practical process guru, or whatever your brand might be. You can also link videos to it. So mix things up a little bit. When you do when you're developing your posting calendar, write up on that posting calendar, you know, I'm going to do a selfie. I'll have a selfie picture there, or I might have an article here, or I might put together a little bit of a presentation and I'll load that up. Mix it up, have some fun with it. The key, however, stay on brand and post consistently. Absolutely be consistent with your posting. Does anyone have any questions before I move on from this to the next slide?
Can I add
No?
something?
Yeah, yes, please.
When it comes to consistency, a really good example of that is YouTubers. So if there are any YouTubers or even TikTokers that are very, very successful, and I'm talking the ones that make enough money from their YouTube channel that is their primary source of income, they post like clockwork. But when it comes to consistency, it's really important not to overcommit yourself. So if you go in hard and say, I'm going to post 5 days a week, people start, once you start getting a following, people start expecting a 5 day a week piece of content from you. And if that's not something that you can keep up with, you're better off being consistent with one post a week or one post a fortnight even than overcommitting and then having to drop back, because the algorithm picks up on that drop and it will say, well, hang on, this person was posting 5 times a week. Now they're only posting one or once a fortnight. So that will affect your post visibility.
Absolutely, Amber. You're absolutely right. So let's go to the next slide, because this is really going to hone that in. So this is where the rubber hits the road. As Amber just said, and as I've sort of said, you need to be consistent. Whatever the consistency is for you, stick to it. Spend some time looking at how many connections you've got and how many followers you've got. And if you want to connect with people, then invite others to connect with you. If you see people that are doing things, if you are the practical process guru and you see people that are doing really interesting things from a process perspective, link with them, because they may have really interesting ideas. And connect with people that are interested in the same things you are. You are building a brand, and part of building a brand is actually linking with people that are interested in the same things. So it's the same as building out a community. You're doing the same thing, but this is around your brand. So if I am the practical process guru and I am looking at, I want to link with people that are in processes, I will link with them, but then I might sit back and think, oh, this is really interesting. But who else is very interested in in processes? Well, change managers are interested in processes. So I might link with them and make that my secondary link and then start to build that out and build out my network. But be strategic with this. Be strategic, can't say the word today, about who you are networking with. Just remember things that when you network with recruiters, they're going to be looking at your profile. So make sure it's good. Spend some time in LinkedIn. Spend some time making your profile look good. And I will show you mine in a moment. And I'll be really honest with you. I have curated my LinkedIn profile. I have spent the last 5 years on it. So when you look at it, you completely understand my brand and you understand what it is and the value that I add and I bring. But it's taken time. So this stuff doesn't happen overnight. But what's the saying, that old saying, when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago or today. So what I say to you now is give it a go. When you network with salespeople, the caveat here is that they're going to want to sell you something. And you may not know that the person that you're linking with is a salesperson. So just bear that in mind. I do go through and I do cull people from my connections, because I get loads and loads of salespeople wanting to sell me services that I do not want nor need. And so I do go through and I cull it. I see my network, my LinkedIn network, I think it's like growing a garden, right? So if you are into growing a garden, then you know that you've got to water it, you need to feed it, but you also need to take control of the weed situation. Otherwise, weeds will overrun your garden. So you need to be, I would suggest, be quite ruthless. And I know that sounds like a terrible word, but you only have a certain number of connections. Now, I think the max number of connections on an unpaid subscription of LinkedIn is, I'm going to say, is it still 30,000 connections, or is that for the premium, Amber? I can't recall the number.
Can't recall off the top of my head, sorry.
I think it's about 30,000 connections. Now, you might sit back and go, wow, that's a lot. I don't ever have to worry about that. But maybe one day, as you've curated this and you've grown it, maybe you'll be at 10,000 connections. Maybe you'll be at 15,000 connections. And then you really want to make sure that you curate it. The other side of this is, as you start to build out your brand, it may start to evolve and it may start to change. And you want to be able to move with that change and that transition with your brand. And so you may want to start building your network out with those new individuals that are in the more of a different space to you. You may decide, yes, I'm the practical process guru, but I really want to be seen as a Lean Six Sigma specialist. And that's really where I'm pushing. Now, yes, we do know that Lean Six Sigma is a process space, but it could be something else, and there might be a tie-in, and you might want to have enough connection space to have more individuals that connect with as your brand is moving, shifting, and evolving. So just treat it like a garden. When people connect with you, spend the time, have short conversations with them. Make sure you're going in and looking at what other people post. If individuals put a comment on your post, then basically thank them or start an interaction. Remember that it's not just about being virtual, it's also about building connection. And not LinkedIn connections, I mean building connection, interconnection, right? That interconnection with others. Okay, so let's talk about getting noticed. So we click on to the next slide. I've just taken a few snapshots, a few screen grabs of my LinkedIn profile. There's a few things there that I think are really important, and I will go to my profile live in a moment. The main thing about getting noticed is making sure that you curate your LinkedIn profile, as I've said. There's certain areas in LinkedIn that's important to get right because it creates what we call metadata, and that's how you will be picked up and searched for. The first thing I would say is that little bit that sits in underneath your name, and I've highlighted it here. It says Mary Beth Hosking, and then it says hashtag CEO for change, technology, innovation. I'd love a show of hands or just a thumbs up if you put your current job title there. And hopefully no one has done that. Excellent, because that's not what goes there. What is going there are highlights from your career, those things that you want people to know about. Also creates a little bit of metadata that gets searched on. So really important that you put in there what is important for you. So, and if you've won any awards or you're a finalist, put those sorts of things up there. They're really important. And curate this. I change this from time to time. I like to sort of change things up because it makes it a little bit interesting and get a little bit boring. So I like to change it up a little bit. The other side of it is have a really good photo. You can take a selfie at home and it could look absolutely fantastic and use that, but have a really good photo and make it as professional as you can. You don't have to go and get professional photos done. You don't have to do that. But if you've got a really good photo and it's current, put a good photo up there. And you'll also notice that I've got quite a bit of shoulders showing and my head showing and it's slightly off center. I do that on purpose because I don't want it to just be a head in a bubble. I want it to have a little bit more depth. Now, you'll see on the right-hand side, the About section. Really important because this, if you were on the Level Up Your Resume session that we had, I talked a lot about this. That About section is similar or the same, but very similar for me to my resume. It's the piece that grabs you when you read a resume, that first little bit that people see. But you'll also see in my expertise that I put budgetary amounts in there. I make it very clear that I have had budget responsibilities, those sorts of things. Where I can make it a quantifiable or qualitative result, I'll put that in there. And then for my key highlights, I have put a few in there that of some of the things that I've done. Now, they're the key highlights that also sit in on my resume. Slightly different again, but this is the bit that you'll find that recruiters are going to be looking at. And I'll fill you in on a bit of a secret. You get this right, you'll get recruiters contacting you about potential opportunities quite regularly. When you post things that show that you have thought leadership, and then your about section supports your thought leadership and the things that you're doing in your current role, you become interesting, and recruiters want to reach out to you and see if you are interested in a role. Even in times when the market is really tough, I will get a call once every 2 weeks with potential opportunities. And that is off the strength of my LinkedIn profile. So it's really something to keep in mind if you're thinking of a career pivot, or you're thinking about something else that you might want to be doing. When your brand matches your about section, it matches the posts that you do, it starts to become very obvious of the sort of individual you are, and it keeps people interested in you, and that's what you want. So if you're comfortable, Victoria, I will get you to just stop sharing for a moment. And I have my LinkedIn profile open. I'm going to sit here dumbfounded because I usually use Teams and I have to find where the share function is. And I'll keep talking and going through this as I'm reading, because it's like, oh my God, where is it?
Down the bottom next to chat.
I got it. Yeah, I'm doing it now. Do you see my screen? I'm hoping that you do.
Yep.
Excellent. So I took some of the snips from here, and what you'll see there is my number of followers, my connections, etc. But I'm going to scroll down a little bit to the about section. And you'll see in the about section for me, it's quite lengthy. But what I put in there is the expertise, key highlights. And you'll see a lot of these have got values added to them. And what that means, because it's important to have these sorts of things, or something that's quantitative or qualitative, so that people can look at that and say, oh, this individual has got these skills. This is how they're adding value in their current role or in their previous roles. And that's really important. I dare say, and I'm going to be bold, Chris. I'm going to take it from you. I'm going to be bold, and I'm going to suggest that I think within the next 3 years, resumes are no longer going to be required. I think people are going to look at your LinkedIn profile. People look at my LinkedIn profile, and that's really all they need, because it says it all. And I think that day is coming. So it's really important to get your brand right. This section is super important. But then I'm going to ask, who uses featured? Who uses the featured section? Anyone? No one uses. That's interesting. I'm going to expand my featured section and show you what it looks like on mine. Because if you look at my features, that now I do a lot of public speaking, but it doesn't have to be public speaking. Victoria, have we sent out the membership icons for LinkedIn yet?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Well, there we go.
Once we got those, we can put those
so
in
one
there.
of the value adds of being a paid member, as you are, is that we'll be sending out a little LinkedIn image that you can put in your featured section, and then you can talk a little bit about why you're a member of our amazing organization. But if I scroll, and I will scroll slowly, what you're going to start to see is all the things that I do from a public speaking perspective. And most of this is all around transformational leadership, because that's part of my key branding. I'm seen as that. And you'll see, and I could go on and on. It goes on for quite some time. But if you are a prospective recruiter and you're looking for somebody that is all about thought leadership, then you see this and you go, I want to speak to this person. But what you don't see, and I'm going to scroll up really quickly just to get us back there. What you'll see in here is everything about my brand. It's all on brand. I never put anything in the featured section that is not on brand, because it's really important that you stay on brand. And then I'll probably stop at posting, but posts. So, I said to you that I post, and I post a lot. You'll see here all of my posts. And I said to you, not a great photo of me. It's not my best side. It's not anything, but it's real. And it was cold, and I was absolutely cold. But I thought, what is that? It's a USB. It's a USB charger on a bus. And I cannot tell you how excited I was about that. That post has only been up for the day. It's got 1,800 views as well. It's doing reasonably well, but you'll start to see as I scroll down the number of posts that I put up. Now, I do share posts for our organization. But again, whatever I post is always on brand, always on brand. So really, really important. I will stop sharing now. And Victoria, we've got just one more slide, or a couple more slides actually. Can we go back to the deck? And I invite every single one of you, if you're not linked with me on LinkedIn, link with me and go and have a look. And steal with pride, people. Steal with pride. If you see something and you go, oh, look what she's done, I want to steal that, go for it. Because it's the greatest form of flattery. So I'm more than happy with that. Because if I start to see every single one of you start having an amazingly curated LinkedIn profile and start to get the traction that you deserve, that makes me very happy. Let's go to the next slide. So you will have noticed something on my profile. It had followers. It's 6,500 followers, and it had connections. What's the difference? So connections are those people that you've engaged with directly, and they've sent you a connection request, and you've said, yes, I'll accept that. These are the people that I will have a conversation with. These are the people that I will meet at an event, that I will link with on events. These are the people that I've actually met at some point. Followers are people that are just interested in my content, but I don't have an in-depth conversation with them. I don't know who my followers are. Anybody can follow your page. Anybody can follow it. It's the connections that are important to me, but that's because I like that interpersonal stuff. But both are valuable. So you want to foster both. If you have really interesting content and you look like somebody interesting to follow, then people will follow you. If you have very similar brand ideas and very similar things to somebody else and they want to connect with you, then connect with them. Just remember, curate, go through. You don't want to have a whole lot of salespeople unless you're in a position. If you're in a position where you have to make decisions about things and you want to have a lot of salespeople and you want to engage in that space, go for your life. I find it a bit tiring. tiring and time consuming with I've linked with somebody because their profile sounds interesting and they're linked with quite a few people in my connections. And I look at that and I go, oh yeah, you're linked with about 100 people I know. I'll link with you. And then I get the whole sales pitch. And then I'm like, oh, for goodness sakes, because that's not what I want. So, I really might, and I'm very, very kind to people. I'm very kind to say, look, thank you, but no, I'm not interested at the moment. But then I will disconnect. I'll remove that connection. And I do it really, really swiftly. So that's just the difference between followers and connections. I thought you might have that question, so I thought I'd answer it. We'll click to the next slide because I'm mindful of time. And this is really interesting. I don't know if you've heard this before, but women network. We network differently. Okay, we network differently to men. If you go to an event and you see the way a man will network, generally, he'll have his phone out and he'll be link with me, link with me, link with me. And it's a big numbers game. Get the numbers up, get the numbers up. We don't. In-person networking for us is about the connection, the face-to-face connection. And what I would say to you is this: when you link with somebody in a face-to-face event, keep that conversation going. Connect with people that really are inspiring for you, or you inspire them, and keep the conversation going, because that's what networking really is. It's about the connection, that interpersonal connection. Online networking, it's about a conversation. It's about understanding the people you're linking with. It really is that important. I absolutely believe that it's important. I love having conversations with people. I love it when I've linked with somebody a year ago and then they reach back out to me and they say to me, hey, Mary Beth, we linked a year ago and you gave me some great advice, or and it was fantastic and I'm doing this now. I love that because I know that the things that I'm still passionate about, the conversations that I'm having, are still on brand for me, and they are important conversations. They're important to others, and that is really what this is about. And don't be afraid to build your network, but obviously do not be afraid to cull it too, okay? It's your network, it's your garden. If you want to have a garden that is full of chrysanthemums, then have a garden full of chrysanthemums. If you want a garden that's full of dandelions, feel free, it's your garden. And if you want a garden that has got a whole myriad of different flowers in it, then grow it the way that you want to grow it. It is your garden, it is there to help you. And if you really nurture it, it will pay you back doubly. So that's all I can say about having that. And then finally, the final slide, just honestly, have a go. So we've worked through understanding your brand. Now, I do not think that any of you will have your brand nailed yet, and it doesn't matter if you don't. But you know what you do have? You've got an invitation to connect with me. So when you do decide what you think your brand might be, I'm going to invite you to start a conversation with me to say, hey, this is what I think my brand is. And I'll work with you and just say, yeah, I think that sounds really good. And then if you have a post, please feel free to send me the link of that post and I will comment on it for you. Set your targets. Set targets relating to the number of connections you want to have and really cultivate that. And have some fun. It's supposed to be a little bit of fun, not supposed to be stressful. You're not going to get it perfect, not going to get it right the first time. Have a go. And finally, then my final slide is just that a lovely, gorgeous photo of me. And that is it. So please do link with me. So Victoria, do you want to stop sharing? We've got about 6 minutes for any questions. And we'll keep the recording going because I think there'll be questions potentially that others that will listen to this may want to know. So does anyone have any questions? Take yourself off mute and ask away. Chris, did you have something?
So I was going to ask you on your getting noticed.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you create that?
My profile?
So you called
Oh.
it getting noticed. That's your profile. I just want to make sure everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. It's your profile. It's what people see on LinkedIn. That is how you get noticed. So,
Great.
did you notice if I go back and reshare?
Mhm.
I'm just going to share that again. You in there? You see me? Okay, I'm just going to go to this page.
Yeah.
Do you see that? Do you see this top bit here that says 10x Gen? So that's my latest book. So there's a reason why that's there. That's called the LinkedIn banner. Find some, and you can get free banners online. You can Google free LinkedIn banners. Once you understand what your brand is, then put a picture in there. Don't just leave it that blue shady thing that LinkedIn has. Have a good, decent photo of you because people are going to look at that. Getting noticed though here, Chris, is this bit here. This bit here. That's really important. People look at that straight away. That's metadata. So if a recruiter is going to be looking for somebody that has technology, innovation, strategy, digital, that's what I get picked up on. Oh, I noticed that you have blah, blah, blah. They'll also pick up things from the about section as well. Getting all of those things curated and having them right, and having them updated so that the information that you have on there is up and available is really important.
Can I just add that a lot of recruitment software is now looking at that data and will actually pick up the resumes they want to review by doing AI and picking up what's in your data. And sometimes on your resume, if you really want to be noticed for change, transformation, it's nice to put it in the hidden text because when the AI goes through searching, it'll find you.
That's tricky. Yes, it is absolutely. And it is something that I think, sorry, Victoria.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Sheila's asking, would you recommend LinkedIn Premium?
Not to start with, unless you want to look for a job.
How would you know what other words to use to get picked up in an AI search?
Okay. So if you're sending in a resume, if you're looking at a particular role, then look at the job description. Look at the job description, have a look at that, and then you would punctuate your resume with matching language to that. So if the role says system analyst and you're a business analyst, but you can be a system analyst and you use system analyst as those words, matchy language. And then if you see something in particular it might not necessarily be in your resume, but you've got the transferable skill, but so you're like, I want to be able to talk to that, but I can't give them an exact example. So say it's system analyst, then in that white text, you would do system analyst. So when it pushes through, your resume pushes through the AI algorithms or the HR algorithms that they're using within the recruiters, etc. When you push that, then they push it through, it will see that and it'll go, oh, it will put that in there. We'll keep this resume because they've got system analyst. When someone reads it, they may go, oh, that's interesting. Why is that there? But you've gotten past that first checkpoint of just being culled at the very first go. And then somebody may ring you and then say, hey, I've noticed this and it's come up, it's picked you up and we like what we see in the resume. Talk to us about the system analyst piece. Does that make sense, Sheila? Does anybody else have a question? So Sheila, I want to finish off with that LinkedIn Premium. I think it's great if you really if you're really on that job search, but if you're going to trial it for free for a month and see if it's useful to you. That's what I would recommend, just to remember the date that you signed up so that they don't go ahead and charge you for the next month, because it is not cheap. Okay, that's the one thing. Now, here's something else. If you're on the job hunt or you're thinking about a job or you want to look at a job and you're like, oh, I don't know whether I should or I shouldn't. When you have a look at the jobs in LinkedIn, because they are, they're reflective of other job boards, when you have a look and it says 130 applications, that doesn't actually mean that people have applied. It means that people have looked. It's a misnomer in there. And so if you look at a job and you think, hey, that looks really good, If they've got a name of someone to contact, try to reach that person, try to link with them, try to have a discussion with them before you send something in. All right. It is now 7 o'clock. Thank you all for coming. Absolutely appreciate your time. I hope you've enjoyed this one. If you have, I'd love a LinkedIn post to say, was on this webinar. As a paid member, we get all these great events and things that are really useful to us in helping promote our careers in STEM. And I'd love to see every one of you at the next monthly member meetup. I think, Chris, you may be joining us, so we'd love to see you there.
So Mary Beth, I just wanted to share something. I'm really passionate about what Women for STEM does, and I hadn't really read my LinkedIn profile all that well. And somebody mentioned to me that I'd forgotten to change, that we changed our name. And I'm so used to be called Vic ICT for Women, I just overlooked it. But it took somebody else to look at my LinkedIn profile and say, "Hey, Chris, you haven't changed your profile to Women for STEM." So, you know, when you're really passionate, you tend to overlook things. And I just wanted to share, because I feel in a safe space, about a mistake I made and recently just got picked up. And thank you for the session. Great news.
And I think that it's really important. As I said, I spend a lot of time in LinkedIn, but that's because it is an important professional mechanism for me. Make it an important professional mechanism for each of you, and you will reap the rewards of it. It will take time. Do not think that it won't. It will take time, but it's so worth it. It is so worth it. All right, I'm going to leave you to it. I hope to see you at the next webinar. We've got another one next month. I can't remember what we're talking about there, but it's going to be just as exciting. And I look forward to meeting you in person if we haven't met before. Bye.